Good afternoon. The Committee on Water and Land is on its hearing agenda for today, March 18th, 2024, in room 229. And we're a little late. Some of us were at another hearing, did our job, and we apologize. And for all the testifiers, we ask that you stand on your written testimony or limit your oral testimony to a minute. The content of this hearing can be found on the legislature's website. The live video stream and archive of the hearing is on the Senate's YouTube channel. We will be taking, decision-making will occur after we hear the measure. Okay, members, we are on HB 2611, House Draft 2, relating to administrative fees. This statutorily establishes a Department of Land and Natural Resources transaction fee for each recording in the Bureau of Conveyances and Land Court. It authorizes BLNR to adopt, amend, or repeal administrative fees, including transaction fees for recordings in the Bureau of Conveyances and Land Court, separate from the administrative rulemaking process. Mr. Kobata, DLNR Conveyance Office Agency. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair Inoue, Vice Chair Elefante, Senators Favela and McKelvey. Thank you very much for juggling your schedules to hear this bill. I just saw what happened, and thank you very much. Les Kobata with the Bureau of Conveyance representing the LNR, standing in strong support of this bill, and I'll be available for any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Okay, Evan Owe, testifying for NIOP Hawai'i with comments. Is there anyone else wishes to speak to HB 2611 House Draft 2? Hearing none, let's go for the vote. We only have this one measure today, members. However, we do have a couple of joints at 1:30. Leslie, knowing this is an administrative fees, but I have my recommendation is removing BLNR to adopt, amend, or repeal the administrative fees under chapters 501 and 502, and members, only that this fee structure is at $5, and according to the measure, the Board of Land and Natural Resources can amend anytime thereafter, and I believe we should just stick with the agency's recommendation and give them and allow the special fund to occur. So, okay. So, okay, if there's no objection, then Chair's recommendation is to pass with the amendments, which would be remove authorizing the BLNR to adopt, amend, or repeal administrative fees under chapters 501 and 502 of the HRS. Any discussions? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments HB 2611 HD2. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang is excused. Senator McKelvey.
Yes.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Madam Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. This concludes then the Waterland single agenda for today.
Good afternoon and welcome. Call to order the triple joint hearing. Today is March 18th, 1:30 p.m. in room 229. Committees on Higher Education, Water and Land, and Committee on Agriculture and Environment. All chairs are present. myself for higher ed, Senator Lorraine Inouye for waterland, and for agriculture and environment, Senator Mike Gabbard. And we are hearing today, okay, before I do that, this meeting is being streamed live on YouTube, and in the unlikely event that we have to end abruptly for whatever reason, technical difficulties, we will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business on Tuesday, tomorrow at 3 p.m. in this room 229, and a public notice will be posted on the legislative website. So we are taking up House Bill 2248, House Draft 1. This is relating to beach management on the North Shore of Oahu. This appropriates funds to the University of Hawaii Sea Grant College to develop a North Shore beach management and climate adaptation plan for the North Shore of Oahu from Sunset Point to Kepo'u Sharks Cove area. And this will take effect, it has a effective date of 7/1/3000. So with that, we'll start off with our testifiers. We have to start off with, oh, you have it, Trevor Fitzpatrick, testifying for DLNR.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, senators. Trevor Fitzpatrick, staff planner with the Office of Conservation and Coastal Lands in DLNR. We stand by our written testimony and here for any questions if you have any.
Okay, members, any question? If not, our next, thank you very much. Our next testifier is Dolan Eversole from the University of Hawaii.
Aloha, good afternoon. I'm Dolan Eversole on behalf of the University of Hawaii. Good afternoon, all chairs, vice chairs, and committee members. We will stand on our written testimony and support, and I'm available to answer questions as needed.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. We have Bernie Bays. From Star O'Toole, Marcus and Fisher. Aloha.
Aloha.
Proceed. Don't worry about her.
Chairs, vice chairs, my name is Bernie Bays. I represent the Shoreline Preservation Coalition, and my firm also represents a number of property owners who own property on this beach. I think, as you know, this beach receives a lot of publicity worldwide because of the famous surfing spots that are located there. A lot of our material features this beach that is sent out to tourists. So this is, I believe, one of the most important beaches in the state, probably second to only Waikiki. Recently, we formed a discussion group on the North Shore of a wide, diverse group of people who are interested in preserving this beach. We agreed to support this bill, and I apologize that my written testimony wasn't submitted. I don't know
Actually,
what
we
happened.
have it. There was
Oh,
a
okay.
glitch. Yeah, we have it.
I'd like to correct the amounts in this. Originally, House Bill proposed 3 million, and that's been reduced down to 1 million. In my draft testimony, we have 30 million and reduced down to 5 million. So I don't know what happened there.
There's a sale going on.
It was a typo. So currently, we're asking for $1 million to complete this study. I'd also note that we've got an unusual amount of expertise at the University of Hawaii and firms like Oceanet that have a tremendous amount of expertise in shoreline protection and ways to protect the shoreline. And one of the things we advocate is using that expertise to devise creative methods to preserve our beaches here. And we believe that that could be exported to other places around the world where people are looking for methods to preserve their beaches. So this study would be the first step in taking a more creative, thoughtful, expert-based look at how we go about preserving our beaches. And this is not just for tourists, it's not just for property owners. Probably most of our residents visit this beach once a year. I know my daughter, who hasn't lived here for years, visits this beach every time she comes here.
Thank you, Bernie. Questions, members?
Thanks for your patience.
Thank you. We have Ted Boland here from Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition in support. Lauren Lickery, also in support. And Denise Antolini on Zoom. Aloha, Denise.
Yes. Aloha, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. My name is Denise Antolini. I should say kia ora. I'm actually zooming in from Christchurch, New Zealand. This bill is that important to me. First of all, a great appreciation for a triple joint, not easy to pull together. We super appreciate it. 3 points. One, urgency. The second one is about community. And the third one is about the phasing of this plan. So first, urgency. You've seen in all over the news and in my testimony, the iconic photo of the little yellow house that fell in on the North Shore. And I want to emphasize that property owns to a long-time local family. So we're talking about protecting long-term residents and families that have been in that area for a very long time, as well as for all the other residents who use the area. I used to live not exactly on the beach, but one house off. So I consider it my family beach. It's very important, and it's shrinking desperately. It's at the point of desperation, and you've seen, I think, a lot of the major enforcement actions that the state has been taking. There's a lot of focus on this beach. It's a very hot spot. It's very urgent, but it's also a signal of what's going to be happening around the island. So it's will unfortunately not be unique in the coming future. Second, community. As Mr. Bays mentioned, there's a very unusual coalition behind this bill. You've got Bernie Bays on one side and me on the other, but we're working together along with OCCL and Sea Grant. And, people are pulling together because we really do need a pathway forward. Then my last point is, I like the $30 million budget, Bernie, but actually Sea Grant has really worked to reduce the budget in light of the other priorities of the legislature this session, which we completely understand. So I think that we should consider this a phase 1 of the North Shore Beach Management Plan. And I think we can come up with a very reasonable number should this get to the final conference. So it's a pathway forward. It provides a pathway that can be modeled for other areas of the state. And we're really appreciative of the opportunity to keep the bill moving. Mahalo.
Thank you, Denise. We have 3 others in support with written testimony. Anyone else here wishing to testify? If not, members, do you have any questions for any of our testifiers? Senator McCarthy.
I'm sorry. I'm just curious more.
Yes.
Does the residents or the people in the area looked at establishing an SID or a CID, Special Improvement District, or Community Improvement District to help finance this? Because that's what property owners in other places are starting to do, working with their respective counties.
I've seen that in other states, and we've tentatively agreed to come up with $100,000 in addition to whatever's been appropriated by the legislature.
That's it, 100,000?
100,000.
They're
yeah.
usually more of a robust contribution for the other ones, though. I mean,
This is not a very robust group.
okay, thank you, Chair.
Okay, members, any other questions? Sure. Yes, go ahead, Senator.
DLNR. So with the homes that are next to the ocean, who is liable if their homes start falling into the ocean? And are the homeowners responsible for the cleanup and restoration of their beachfront?
We would hope that the homeowners would work with the respective counties to ensure that that doesn't happen. But in the case where the yellow house fell in, the landowner was notified that he needed to, or they needed to remove the house from the state shoreline and beach.
Okay, so what is the status of those homes that have been built as illegal structures on the beach to protect their homes? And has DLNR collected all fines related to these infractions?
We are working on a number of violations up there on a case-by-case basis, looking at other solutions as well, a more regional approach. Sorry, what was the other part of the question?
Has DLNR collected all fines related to these infractions?
We are still in the process in some cases of adjudicating those as far as the fines go. But in some cases, we have collected fines.
Madam Chair, one more question. So in this case, I guess the county approves the building or the permits. So when did it become the responsibility of the state?
It's primarily structures that are Makaya, the shoreline.
Which would be the ocean side, right?
Right.
So what I'm saying is if the county is approving the permits, why are we being subjected to?
We would hope the county would, or respective counties would also pursue enforcement actions regarding structures built without authorizations within their jurisdictions.
So,
Except for the SMA permits.
yeah. But
That's by
still,
state,
but
yeah.
still, yet it still comes on
Yeah.
the county planning commission. But, so what will we do about those homes on the beachfront that have not been damaged, but could face the same consequence of others who have seen their homes start to fall into the ocean as well?
Well, I think that's where this bill is needed. It starts to present or study options for these people.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, following up on that question, so when the city approves the permits, do they have DLNRs on there in any time during the process to weigh in on whether or not these structures should be allowed? Do they have to get some kind of a okay or permit or sign off by DLNR as in relation to the beach and the erosion and the impacts to the shoreline?
Generally speaking, if it's a new development, they're probably going to have to get a certified shoreline. At that point, there'll be some sort of communication with DLNR and the landowner in the county.
So you folks give this certified shoreline?
The department and land division handle the shoreline application. I believe it's processed through the survey division of the Department of Accounting and General Services.
How long has this been in effect, this certified shoreline?
I'd have to get back to you on that. I
Okay,
don't know.
and how many permits did they issue since they've been doing this? Because it'd be interesting to see if they issued permits and some of these structures have been in fact impacted.
I think that's a county question.
Okay. Okay, members, any other questions for DLNR? Senator Favela?
I just like to get clarification because I know you said some of these guys are original owners to the homes. So over the years that they lived there, slowly erosion over the years, all around the island, including on my side, whatever they call it, sea level rising, king tide, whatever it was. Now we're going to do a study now, which is probably was needed 30 years ago. Do you guys know if any other studies was done in that area or any other area around the island for erosion?
There is the state sea level vulnerability and adaptation report that was published in 2017, and a lot of that was based on what was at that time the UH Coastal Geology Group's erosion rates and highway run-up studies. Those are publicly available through the.
Is that for the whole island or is it only for that area?
No, it's for Hawaii County, Maui County, Oahu, and there is also availability for the Big Island. However, that is a little bit limited due to data.
The reason why I'm asking is the same thing that my colleagues is saying, yeah? We give for a study, but then the city use out the permits and say, hey, over there, put 200 bags over there. And what does the state stand for that? We're gonna do the study, but then the city's still gonna say what they wanna say and what they wanna do in saving supposedly the shoreline, which the shoreline, from, I guess, the ocean, high sea level, height belongs to DLNR. So how do you guys decipher on how the study is gonna be and where on the shoreline that the study is gonna be done by the university? And I guess, overlook on the funding that would be coming from the state. And then when is the city gonna put in their portion to do a study on their portion of that area, instead of the state paying for the whole thing? Because we don't collect the land tax, even though the land is eating away. We don't collect the land tax, the city does. So how is that, like how Kelvin said, where's the skin in the game for the state before we put skin in the game? So where's the skin in the game for the city? So that's just the questions that I get asked. I wasn't going to ask nothing, I told my colleagues, but it came to the point that that's what they didn't know. We didn't know what is the skin in the game for the city if we pass this, and they're matching funds, or, I know you probably can't answer the question, but that'll be something that we need to probably ask. It's a great bill. We need the study, but what is it for them? We're gonna do the study and then they still collect the taxes?
Like you said, Senator, I think those questions should be directed to the city, but they have their own climate commission, and I think they have used some of the erosion data to update their own setbacks.
Right.
But again, that applies to new structures. Many of the structures we're talking about along this stretch have been there, like the one that fell in was built in the 50s.
Yeah.
There are some
A lot
that
of parks
have
in
been
our
updated.
area too, the side of the city don't care, just my opinion. Most of our parks no more shoreline. It's gone. Cal Beach Park, half of the park is in the ocean. You know what I mean? So that's I just wanted to say that, because if we're gonna, I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but if we're gonna do this study for there, then what is the city gonna do with matching funds or meeting up with us and try to figure something out? That's just my opinion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Couple questions. So, does DLNR come up with any kind of short-term solutions?
Yeah, we passed Act, what was it now, Act 16 in 2020. So you can't, what Senator Favela was talking about, no one can use any hardening on the shoreline that's managed by the state. And all new shoreline structures are not permitted, all new ones.
Okay, I want to know, DLNR, what are you folks, other than bills, what are you folks' short-term solutions? Have you have any short-term solutions?
So in the past, we've authorized, or we've reviewed sand pushes, which were a temporary preventative measure.
Okay,
We did the emergency permits for sandbag structures. That's been documented largely as
okay.
not
So
an effective strategy and not
so-
consistent with current
is that part
law.
of a beach management plan?
as
Do you
moving
folks-
forward.
Or did you folks ever have a beach management plan?
Yes, in 97 or 98, there was the coastal erosion management plan that was adopted by the board.
Okay, well, I guess what I'm getting to is that, so you've done these short-term solutions, you've said you had a beach plan 1977, and so exactly what will the study and this whole entity do with UH, and I'm gonna ask UH questions as well, is what do we hope to gain after spending $1 million+ if, because it does call for short-term solutions, it does call for a beach management plan, right? That's what I'm reading here, that's what this whole bill is for. But you're telling us that you do have a beach management plan that perhaps needed to be updated. You did do some short-term solutions. I don't know what other outstanding types of short-term solutions are out there that hasn't been implemented as yet. So what exactly do we hope to get from this study?
Well, our shorelines along, or throughout our state are very different, and to come up with some sort of blanket solution may not be appropriate for every shoreline or
Yeah, but that's
smelt
DLNR's
cell.
job, right? You manage the shoreline, you're supposed to have these different shoreline management plans and not just wait till there's a problem, but shouldn't that have been something the department does as part of their everyday?
We only have jurisdiction in Makaya, the shoreline.
Yeah.
We don't have jurisdiction in Malka. Hopefully this,
No, but you can do beach plan management, which would then affect entities and give direction as to what should be done Makamaka of the shoreline, right? I mean, that's part of DLNR, is that there's impacts, and you folks should identify that so that the city would have guidance as to what we should be doing, and if it doesn't happen, then there's ways to then either take them to court or do other things, right? So I guess I'm looking for the leadership from DLNR as to what we're doing other than piecemealing study by study, which is something that you folks should be doing on a regular basis, right? As part of your mission, part of your job, I mean, part of the entity, the department's charge.
yeah, and I think this bill sets us up to do a more holistic approach and not just focus on the state's.
Okay, so outside of a bill like this, you can't do any kind of holistic looking at the shoreline?
I think we've done those, what we can do.
No, see, I don't agree with that you folks are doing what you should be doing. Who actually does the management? What entity of DLNR does the beach management?
We regulate the land uses in the conservation
Yeah,
district,
but what entity of the department?
the Office of Conservation and Coastal Lands.
Okay, and how many of you folks are on telework?
None
None
that
is
I
on
know.
telework.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like there's some kind of a void on thinking that this is something we should be doing as a long-term planning and just wait for the legislature to get the community to come in and beg us for funds so we can put together a group to finally decide what that beach management should be. I'm sorry, I'm just, I know we had a bill like this last year, and this comes up time to time as to, we are living on an island, we do have erosion. It shouldn't be something, it should be a knee-jerk reaction. It's something that you folks should be doing on a regular basis. And I don't know what it's gonna take to get us there. Okay, members, any other questions? Dealing on,
So with this kind of, I guess, urgency, you guys ever think to get or try find out if you guys get any kind of federal grants or federal funding when it comes to something like this? Because it's a national thing. I mean, it's something that is, costly and it needs to be done. So with that kind of erosion and that kind of loss of property and home, doesn't that follow under the actual natural disaster kind of element in that area?
I can't speak for FEMA, but I believe I would defer to UH and Sea Grant on the question of potential federal funding.
Because before, I mean, like I said, I'm not the money guy, but I'm just thinking, okay, we're gonna give funding and nobody else is giving funding but us. And we don't collect, like I just said, I don't wanna sound like a broken recording, we don't collect the land tax. That's something that the county does, and maybe the guy paying less tax is not because he had more land, we don't know. But what I'm saying is that that's something that we should consider, that the city meet halfway and put in some funding to,
he can't answer that, so,
yeah.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Can I talk to, can you call university?
Yes, they're next.
What happened to the, the surf rider report that did that several years ago? They did they got the grants, Sea Grant, and hired SSFM. What happened to that management plan?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Because that was centered only on North Shore.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So their recommendation showed that only they're supposed to come up with the development plan and the dune management plan to all of the North Shore Beach parks and accessways, which is under the jurisdiction of the city. So, yeah, and as DLNR did say, the kuleana for the state is only on Makai of the ocean, of the properties.
Can you respond?
Yes. So with respect to it was referred to as the North Shore Coastal Resilience Working
Right.
Group. It was co-hosted by Surfrider Foundation and
Right.
University of Hawaii Sea Grant Program, who I represent here today. And we produced over a period of about 2 years, a series of meetings as a working group, produced that report. And in the report, it had a number of priority actions, concerns, I'll call them, and then recommendations. And in our testimony, we acknowledged that one of the recommendations of that report is to, in fact, develop a beach and dune management plan, which this measure attempts to do. So it's very consistent with the outcomes of that working group. As far as, so there is the report, has the
Right,
recommendations. The next steps for that working group, as acknowledged in the report, are to, in fact, continue the discussion with the working group and to expand it into the broader community and do more community-oriented, because it was a closed working group by invitation. It was not open to the public.
So was city and county involved?
They
with
were
the working
represented on the working group, as was DLNR.
And how much did that North Shore Resilient study cost? Working group?
It wasn't a study, it was a working group report, so it was informal in nature. And there was a lot of in-kind contribution. The total budget was $10,000, and that was primarily to have SSFM, who's a local consulting firm, lead the facilitation
Right.
part.
Okay, and so now, is it your understanding that DLNR should be the one to come up with this beach management plan as part of their mission as?
Yeah, so there, one of the complications that we're seeing here today is this bifurcation of the shoreline. It comes up repeated in
Right.
all these coastal projects. The shoreline denotes the jurisdictional boundary between the state and the counties, and that presents all kinds of challenges, of course. That's especially true here where the shoreline is now cutting right underneath people's homes. It presents an added challenge with ownership even. As far as who should be responsible for a beach management plan moving ahead, it's hard for me to answer that. It really needs to be co-managed between the city and the state, in my opinion. But the primary processes that we're talking about with erosion and accretion and waves, that's primarily on the state jurisdiction. So if I had to pick one over the other, it would probably be in the state jurisdiction. However, the problems that we're seeing are with the private properties that are then under city jurisdiction and regulatory. So that's where this complication comes in. It really needs to be, if we were to move forward with this bill and start moving with a beach management plan or even a broader adaptation plan, it would absolutely have to involve both the city and the state, and they would need to be vested in some way in the outcomes of the report itself, in the study.
But this bill calls for you guys to do the comprehensive management adaptation plan.
And I can just add to that, the reason that the university is acknowledged in here is we've done these in the past, and we're willing and capable of doing it. It really comes down to that. We're willing to do it. As examples of past experience with this, we developed a Kailua Dune and Beach Management Plan with funding from DLNR. That was about 10 years ago. A number of recommendations that came out of that, some of which we're doing, others we're not. The collective we, I'll say. We also developed a beach management plan for the county of Maui. That was a Sea Grant effort that acknowledged the kind of joint jurisdiction along the shoreline between the state and the counties and how we regulate land uses in the context of sea level rise is really important. And then lastly, but not least, of course, our Sea Grant program has developed a beach management plan for Waikiki with funding from a special improvement district in Waikiki in partnership with DLNR. So there's a number of beach management plans we've been involved with, which at least is part of the reason we were identified to lead this effort.
And what kind of costs have you folks done as far as these other beach management plans?
They vary widely, of course, depending on the scope, but I would say anything from a bare bones, just doing beach and dune management, maybe a pilot project of dune restoration in that $500,000 range on up. If we start getting into land use adaptation planning, where you're needing to engage the community more and develop long-term strategies, which is, I think, what we need for the North Shore, it can creep upwards from that, depending on the scope and what other type of deliverables are included. One example I can provide is, okay, why are we doing this and what's the outcome? One thing I would love to see as a result of any of these efforts with beach and dune management is draft rules and maybe not legislation, but potential rules that we could develop as a community, working with the elected officials for the region as well as the community. What type of low-hanging fruit is there to maybe amend the rules so that we can avoid these problems in the future? That's one of many examples that I can point to.
Okay, and you didn't, so $1 million, are you saying is not enough for this, or?
I guess it depends on the scope. So as I read the bill now, there's a lot in there, and it's talking about comprehensive adaptation planning, engagement with the community, producing a report. Initially, that was creeping up to about $3 million for the whole package. Understanding our fiscal constraints this year, we're already anticipating a request to reduce the budget. I'm happy to work with you all on that. But depending on what we want as an outcome, I would say at a minimum, $500,000 for just a beach and dune management plan. And it could be up in that $1 million or $2 million range, depending on that scope of the full adaptation planning.
So what happens if you get $1 million? What kind of outcomes can we expect?
Yeah, so I mentioned previously, one example is some recommendations, of course.
Okay, let me take it one step further. What are we going to get to justify $1 million and not say, well, we didn't have enough money, therefore we only have this, we only have that, and it's still inadequate?
Yeah.
I mean, is it?
This is
we see
something.
all the time.
Yeah, this is a great question. It's something we talk about a lot with our work. We do produce a lot of studies. Most of the time, those studies sit on a shelf.
Exactly.
We recognize that.
Exactly.
So in order to make these studies actionable, we try to be very specific with outcomes. And one of the things that I think could be a very powerful outcome of this process is to, one, develop community support for an effort, whatever that looks like, whether we're starting to talk about adaptation like managed retreat, or if we're talking about doing dune restoration projects, getting the community on board, which in turn could bring more political will to take action.
Right, and you're going to have people in there that are opposed to it, especially landowners, if it affects their
always.
property. So, there's a lot of issues. And how long do you think the study's going to be?
I would say a minimum of 18 months.
Okay.
I think the dates that are in the measure are, we can accomplish the beach and dune management plan in that time frame. If we want to do adaptation planning, that will take a little bit more time, maybe a year longer.
And you folks have researchers, right, at the Sea Grant College program?
That's right. We work closely with the Coastal Resilience Collaborative, Chip Fletcher and his group, on the science technical side, as well as ocean engineering.
So do
at
you guys
UH.
go out for federal grants?
We have in the past pursued federal funding for beach management plans, including, I've written at least 2 different federal
Okay, my
grants.
question is going to boil down to, why haven't you guys, or have you gone out for grants for such a project?
We've tried, we've attempted at least 2 times for the North Shore specifically, and we weren't funded.
And when was this?
The first time was about 10 years ago, and most recently about 3 years ago.
Okay, so is there any attempt to do it again?
There's some talk of a federal earmark, but those are very informal at this point.
Okay. Okay, questions?
Yeah, Chair, thanks. Just listening to the conversation and to Chair Kim's point, the deliverable, and like you said, most of these studies end up sitting on a shelf and doing nothing. Chair Kim pointed out, we're an island state, and so our coastlines are throughout the state. In your estimation, is this going to be very focused just to North Shore? Do you think we would get some stuff that we may be able to use in other shores?
Yeah, the intention would be to develop something site-specific for the North Shore, but perhaps more importantly, it serves as a model for other coastal communities. As you've acknowledged, this is not a unique problem to the North Shore. Maybe it's more extreme in that Sunset Beach area, but it would serve as a model to other communities around the state on how to move forward.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
So my question is, have you guys looked at the amount of property, homes that are on that beach, and how soon they won't be there?
Yeah, I think Trevor mentioned that there is a statewide study of projected coastal erosion. And so we have that data, we pay very close attention to it, and it's constantly being updated. The short answer to your question is yes, we have looked at the number of homes in that Cammie's Sunset Beach area specifically. There's about 25 that are imminently threatened, some more than others, and it comes and goes. And there has been some, at least informal analysis of like, well, what are those properties worth, at least the assessed value? And so those are informal conversations that we're having in our research groups about what kind of value of the land
But
is
we
there.
haven't yet made offers to the property owners.
No, we're not there yet.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's a concern that, Chair Kim also has mentioned, because this bill calls for general fund appropriation.
Okay.
And we're specifically looking at the North Shore and Cammie's Beach, so.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Members, I know by the time committees have hearings, we're going to go straight into decision-making. That's okay. I'm going to recommend that we amend to SD1 for technical and non-substantive amendments, and also to place in the committee report the numbers that was given to us, the $1 million that's recommended at this point, but leaving it blank, and that we already have a effective date. Right? Okay, any questions, any discussions, any other recommendations? Senator McKelvey.
I appreciate that, but I think given the fact that on our island, the county has been a very active player and contributor, especially with CIDs, I got concerns about the fact that the state is taking the lead on something that the solutions are going to require heavy involvement. I also don't think you're going to get community unanimity on this. It's divisive because of the competing interests that are very well, solidified. And then also, I think city and county can use a neighborhood ward system and other things to facilitate community outreach that would be less costly. So for that, I'm going to go with reservation.
Okay, would you be advocating to put something in here regarding the county?
Yeah.
And something in the committee report as well?
That would be
Okay.
very helpful to address the concerns of having all the partners that are going to be involved in any kind of a plan represented.
We'll see what we can do. We'll definitely put something in the committee report. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, Vice Chair, for the vote for higher education, recommendation is to pass with amendments, and Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye, Senator Fukunaga, excused, Senator Hashimoto,
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Reservation.
Motion is adopted, Madam Chair.
For the Committee on Water and Land, same recommendation to pass HB 2248, House Draft 1 with amendments. Any discussion for the Committee on Water and Land? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
Okay, Chair's recommendations to pass with amendments, HB 2248 HD1. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang, Senator McKelvey,
Yes, because of the CR.
and Senator Favela.
Reservation.
Madam Chair, recommendations adopted.
Okay, thank you.
And the same recommendations for Committee on Agriculture and the Environment. Any concerns, questions?
Yeah, Chair. Yeah, I'm concerned we're spending, I know we're in a financial predicament, and Grant, we've talked about the extensiveness or maybe the application statewide, so because of that, I'm going to be voting no on this measure.
Chair, just in concern, study after study, we've been waiting for them to just step up to the plate and own it, and I'm going no, Chair, sorry.
Chair votes aye. Vice Chair?
Thank you. On the bill, HB 2248, House Draft 1, Chair votes aye. Vice Chair votes nay. Senator Decoit? Senator Rhodes? Senator Awa?
Aye.
Chair, you have 2 in favor and 2 against. Motion fails.
Good afternoon. The Committees on Water and Land and Energy, Economic Development and Tourism is on its agenda for 1:45 p.m. in room 229. Today is Monday, March 18th. And sorry, folks, this week's deadline, so everyone's working hard to get bills crossed over the line. So bear with us, and we thank you for being patient as well. All right, members, let's proceed with HB 2263, House Draft 2, relating to the East Hawai'i irrigation system, and this appropriates funds to the Agribusiness Development Corporation to establish positions to maintain and improve the East Kauai irrigation system and for maintenance of and improvements to the system. Sorry about that, just some housekeeping measures as well. For those testifying, I would like to let you know if you could stand on your written testimony or limit your oral testimony to 1 minute. And members, we're open to ask questions when we call on those who wants to testify to make things move faster. The content of this hearing can be found on our legislature's website. The live video stream and archive of the hearing is on the Senate's YouTube channel. We will be making decisions today on this measure. And so with that said, DLNR. Ian, is it your show today?
For this bill, yes, thank you. Thank you, chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committees. Ian Hirokawa with DLNR. We'll stand on our testimony in support of this measure, and I'll be available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, mahalo, DHHL. Okay, Department of Hawaiian Homelands. Okay, in support. ADC, Wendy Gady. Aloha.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. I'm Wendy Gady. I'm with the ADC, or Agribusiness Development Corp., and we very much stand in support of this measure, would very much like to keep 5,000 acres in active production and help the state hit their goal of doubling food by 2030. And I'm going to give my extra time to Judy.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Chair and Vice Chair and all the committee members. So my name is Judy Liu Dandan, and I'm a Kauai farmer. I'm the one who using the water right now. And I'm gonna show you quick because time is valuable. So the sweet potato you can see, you guys all know okay, now this is what I grow now. So I've been doing this 15 years. I'm gonna grow 3 years ago. So every time I grow, every time I wash, no water. And I've been losing how many hundreds of thousand pounds of the sweet potato. So we could, support a lot of food for human. So the water is very important because nobody can take that away. It's gotta be stay in Hawaii, maintain, take care, improve, and for the livelihood for the Kauai people and for the people who, like us, responsible for the earth, Mother Earth. So with my heart, I'm not a really farmer, but I do my best to proud of to be a woman farmer, and I'm really gonna make you guys proud to vote for this. We will make a better, amazing land, and I'm gonna spread the word to the world because Kauai is Hawaii. Hawaii is only one in the world. And I really like to see you guys give consideration to how not only the grower and the local people and making the name out of Hawaii here.
Good. Remain there, Wendy, come on up. I've been there, so I've been to the irrigation, no, to the irrigation system. But your farm is located on the road that gets out
All the
there.
way to the
So
end.
Wendy, question. So right now, are you connected to any of the systems? You're not?
No.
So infrastructure. So are you folks going to look at the infrastructure that the farmers can get to the water source?
I'm Wendy
Is that
Gady
part-
with the Agribusiness Development Corp., and that's why we've asked for 3 positions and $750,000 a year for the first 3 years. Of that, $250,000 will go towards operating, and $500,000 will be going towards contracting services to open up some of the system that is currently closed.
Oh, okay. Now, nothing has changed since the original plan for the transfer, DLNR to ADC. Everything is in place. Ian, you're still around?
Brian's here.
Oh, Ryan, okay. Okay,
Yes.
so the original plan on the transfer remains the same, and Russell, I think Russell did take us on to the journey to see the properties as well. Anything changed?
No. We're
Okay.
currently in process of an environmental study that's looking at, the various options. But as far as we know, yeah, we would definitely like to transfer it to ADC to preserve it.
So you won't do that until your study's done?
I think if the bill is passed, we'd have to reassess because we were looking at other options that may have a larger environmental
Okay.
impact. Just
All
that
right.
if the issue of the transfer was resolved, that's what we're going to do, we
Okay.
might have to reassess. Yeah, do we need to really go through with that?
All right, okay. Anyone has questions for Wendy or the farmer?
Judy.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, Chair.
You get the cleanest, softest hands I've seen for a sweet potato farmer.
I have a muscle here. So we are new generation, we fight smart. We protect the earth, the soil, and also our cropping more
It's
tasty.
in your
Yeah,
hands.
she's
It's the
looking at you
softest-
because.
Softest, cleanest fingernails.
Because she's a farmer and she got farmer's
Never did
hands.
see hands
yeah.
that soft.
I
Unless
driving-
you're using Corona.
No, because
Thank you, Chair.
I'm
Okay,
using an
all right.
excavator and tractor, that's why.
Good job.
I will show you.
Hanging down.
All right.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
I'll be here for questions.
Okay, thank you, thanks so much. Thank you, Ian and Russell. County of Kauai Office of Economic Development, Nalani Brun, in support. Okay, Mayor Kawakami sends communication in support, Kauai Chamber as well. And we do have all support from Larry Jeff's Farms, Local Food Coalition, Ulupono, Hawaii Cattlemen's Council, and 3 individuals. Anyone here wishes to speak to HB 2263 Farm Bureau?
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committees. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. I am going to talk for the first time with my hands under the table, so there's no comments on my hands. Bad choice, man. I'm gonna we did submit testimony. If you didn't get it, Chair, we'll make sure the committees get our testimony. We are in strong support of this. We've been testifying on this for a number of years, even back when the legislature was appropriating $75,000 to East Kauai Water Users Co-op. I'm up here, I know you said stand, but I just wanted to point out that with our ambitious goals of farm to school, farm to food bank, and doubling food production, if we lose a farmer such as Judy, who participates in these programs, specifically farm to food bank, and would be someone that we would want to source for farm to school, we're not going to be able to hit those benchmarks, and we're going to go backwards. And just as a note, the U.S. Census of Ag numbers, the 2022 numbers that are 5 years from the 2017 numbers that just came out last month, reflects a loss of 10.4% of our farms and 82,000 acres of agriculture.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, anyone else wishes to speak to HB 2263? Hearing none, okay, your show, Committee on Economic Development.
Next up, HB 2020 HD2 relating to renewable energy. First testifier, Department of Land and Natural Resources, Russell Suji.
Good morning, chairs, members of the committees, Russell Tsuji for DLNR. We'll stand on our testimony in support, just noting that we are offering a friendly amendment, hoping it will resolve the issue that's raised. We basically are saying that in this case, if the renewable energy producer was to sell the power, he wouldn't be utilizing the grid, the electrical grid, but to the extent that the grid is necessary to transport the power, that make sure that the renewable energy producer obtain the approval of the owner of the grid as well as the PUC.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, PUC Leo Sunshin in support.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. I'm also planning with the Public Utilities Commission. Stand on our written testimony to support this measure. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Next up, Hawaii State Energy Office.
Hello, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. Maria Tomei, Hawaii State Energy Office. We stand on our written testimony in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Hawaiian Electric, James Abraham.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committees. My name is James Abraham. I'm testifying on behalf of Hawaiian Electric, offering comments on House Bill 2020 HD2. We did have concerns with the earlier versions of this bill that it could enable wheeling of electricity, but we appreciate that the prior committee added language to this bill to ensure that these state land leases for renewable energy projects would not be used for wheeling. We do offer some tweaks to the language that's currently in the bill that we would appreciate the committee to consider to clarify this aspect. I also wanted to note the broad concerns that we have with the use of state land for renewable projects that will not be available for the renewable RFP process to lower costs for the broader customer base and help contribute towards the 100% renewable portfolio standard by 2045. Hawaii does have land constraint issues in achieving 100% RPS, and this bill would effectively take land that is viable for renewable energy away from the bucket of land that could be used to get us to 100%
Thank you.
RPS.
Your time is up.
Thank you. I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Next up, Hawaii Food Industry Association, Guy Sellier in support. Julie Yunker, Hawaii Gas in support. David Bissell, Hawaii Island Utility Cooperative in support. Sherry Pola, testifying for 350 in opposition. Jacqueline Ambrose in support. Glenn Kagamita in support, and Ruda Jordans in opposition. Anybody else wishing to testify? Seeing none, any questions for the committee? Seeing none, I'm going to go straight to decision making.
Okay. All right, we're going into decision making on the agenda of March 18th with regards to HB 2263 House Draft 2. This is relating to the East Kauai irrigation system. Chairs has confirmed we'd like to pass this measure as is. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, for the Committee on Water and Land, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
Chair's recommendations to pass unamended HB 2263 HD2. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang. Senator McKelvey.
Yes.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Madam Chair, recommendations adopted.
Thank you.
Committee on Energy, Economic Development, and Technology, same request. Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
I vote yes. Senator Fukunaga is excused. Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. And next bill, HB 2020 HD2 related to renewable energy. Recommendation is to pass as an SD1 amending section 2, page 4, lines 12 and 13, provided that nothing in this definition shall be construed to allow wheeling over public utility lines or infrastructure that is not authorized by law or rule or order of the Public Utilities Commissions, making technical and non-substantive amendments for clarity and consistency and defecting the date to January 1st, 2016. Any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
I vote yes. Senator Fukunaga is excused. Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
For the Committee on Water and Land, same recommendation to pass with amendments to HB 2020 House Draft 2. Any discussions? Committee on Water and Land, Senator McKelvey?
Yeah, I have concerns with this measure because of the issue of wheeling, so reservations.
Okay, all right, any further discussions? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
Okay, Chair's recommendations to pass with amendments HB 2020 HD2, noting the reservations from Senator McKelvey. Any other reservations? Any no votes? Madam Chair, recommendations adopted.
Okay, great. This concludes the Joint Committee on Water and Land and the Energy, Economic Development and Tourism. Aloha.